Hi, my name is Anna. Welcome back to my channel. I have been procrastinating filming this video for so long. I don't know why, but I have to get it done now because I'm going on vacation in less than a week. And if I don't get it done now, I won't be getting it done for another 2 months. So I just realized I didn't make my bed. Pause. As you may know, if you've seen even one of my videos, I am a huge gourmand fragrance lover. Call me basic, call me childish. I don't care. I want to smell like dessert. Sue me. I have way too many perfumes in my wish list and I bought 23 samples to go over today. I started testing these months ago, so these are not first impressions by any means. If you've smelled any of the fragrances that I mentioned today and had a completely different experience, please leave your thoughts in the comments. As we all know, scent is very subjective. I'm gonna start off with a disappointment. I was really curious about Jason's rakugan because it has a maple note, and as a Canadian, I hold maple very dear to my heart. It has top notes of maple, apricot, apple, and strawberry, middle notes of peach, benzoin, and rose, and base notes of vanilla, tonka bean, iris, and cedar. This has lots of negative reviews. Specifically, a lot of the reviews say that this smells like cat pee. Would I have thought of cat piss on the first sniff of this fragrance? Probably not, but now that I do have that in my mind, I can see where they're coming from, unfortunately. I'm not like a big cat piss connoisseur or anything, but on top of its tart citrus and maple notes, it does have this strange, sour and sweet musty smell, which thankfully fades within an hour and leaves behind a really nice maple and apricot scent. And after the kind of nauseating dry down, I can see a lot of people actually liking this fragrance, but I don't think it's worth the hour of near queasiness. And just for reference, I don't get any vanilla, rose, strawberry, tonka bean, or cedar. It has minimal sillage and lasts about 4 hours on me. Another kind of disappointing fragrance, even though I did know I wasn't gonna love it, honestly, is mancera's tonka cola. I can't find my sample anywhere. I don't know what I did with it. I probably dropped it somewhere and who knows when I'll find it. While I do love a cola note, I typically don't love a cola fragrance because they can come off either too spicy or too gingery and just overall come off too masculine for my tastes. And this is sadly no exception. It has top notes of cinnamon, cherry, Sicilian lemon, and nutmeg, middle notes of Coca-Cola, Indonesian patchouli leaf, and orange blossom, and base notes of tonka bean, vanilla, benzoin, and labdanum. I do smell the cola here, but the nutmeg and cinnamon are much stronger, especially after a couple of hours of wear when I get basically no cola. I also get a little bit of cherry and lemon on the dry down, but it fades pretty quickly. I can see myself enjoying this fragrance on other people, but for me, it's just a little bit too spicy. It has moderate sillage and lasts all day on me. To compare this to some other cola fragrances, Sniff's Soda Snub is much sweeter and has very distinct caramel, while Killian's Born to be Unforgettable has a stronger cola note and distinct lime and is nowhere near as spicy as Tonka Cola. Okay, let's talk about a fragrance that I actually liked, Pear Gelato by Theodoros Kalotinis. My only other experience with this brand before trying this was Lemon Tart, and I hated it because it smelled like Lysol wipes. But this, delicious. It has notes of pear, cone waffle, vanilla, milk, and sugar. It definitely smells like pear gelato with a distinct waffle cone note, but I do have to say that the pear is a little bit artificial in the dry down. I know I've made the comparison before about fragrances smelling like these scented markers you would get at the elementary school book fair, but pear gelato reminds me specifically of this marker right here. I had to dig in my parents' basement to find this because as soon as I smelled pear gelato, it took me right back to this. Now, obviously they don't smell identical because this doesn't have any sort of fruitiness and this marker is like 15 years old, but something about it reminds me so much of the cone note in Pear Gelato. The waffle cone adds such a beautiful depth to this fragrance, especially because it develops more strongly as you wear it. The vanilla has a little bit of creaminess, but I wouldn't necessarily say I smell milk. It only has minimal sillage on me, but it lasts nearly all day. On Fragrantica, I saw that this was compared to Xerjoff's Italica, and while the waffle cone note does kind of resemble the toffee note in Italica, Italica doesn't have any fruitiness and is much heavier on the caramel-esque toffee. Okay, next up we have Nobile 1942 La Danza delle Libellule. I love saying that. La Danza delle Libellule. This has top notes of red apple and bergamot, middle notes of cinnamon and cocoa, and base notes of vanilla, musk, and cedar. This is really nice, but sadly I don't love it. It's a juicy apple scent with a hint of tartness from the bergamot, and it's quite reminiscent of Cirque du Soleil's L'Eau de Parfum, but it's missing the depth that L'Eau de Parfum has from its caramel and popcorn notes. I also don't get any cinnamon, cacao, or cedar. It just really falls flat to me in comparison to L'Eau de Parfum, especially after 30 minutes of wear when it loses so much of its juiciness and sweetness and turns into more of like a musky apple scent. It's also much more faint and only lasts about 4 hours on me. It's definitely not the scent that I would go for, but if you find L'Eau de Parfum too sweet and too cloying, but still want something with a similar vibe, I recommend you check this out. Another semi-disappointment was Serendipity 3's Serendipitous. It has notes of Tahitian vanilla, cacao, and bitter orange. As you may know, I love a citrus vanilla scent, so I was really excited to try this, and it is really delicious. My problem is that it is so faint, to the point where I can hardly even smell it enough to be able to describe it to you. Like, is my sample a dud? Because I will apply it over and over and over again and still smell nothing. Maybe I'm just nose blind to it. It's very possible, but I just can't recommend it, unfortunately, because I can't smell it. Moving right along, as a fan of Maison Mataha's Escapade Gourmand, I was really excited to try the brownie pop. It has a top note of brown sugar, middle notes of popcorn, hazelnut, biscuit, and chocolate, and base notes of vanilla and sandalwood. Now, is this a nice fragrance? Absolutely. But if you were hoping for something brownie adjacent, you will be sorely disappointed. I get nothing brownie-like from this, apart from the maybe 30 seconds of the dry down where I get a little bit of chocolate. It's actually more of a nutty vanilla, very reminiscent to Sol de Janeiro's Cheirosa 71. To me, the strongest note is hazelnut with a hint of biscuit and popcorn. I start to get some sandalwood after about 30 minutes, which then fades after a couple of hours and brings out the brown sugar. The main difference between brownie pop and Cheirosa 71 is that brownie pop is obviously much stronger and it develops and changes throughout the day, whereas Cheirosa 71 remains quite linear. But still, I would just get Cheirosa 71 because this shit is fucking expensive. Another fragrance I tried from Maison Mataha is Evasion bonbon, and I like this way more than I expected to. It's not something that I think I need a full bottle of, but it's super yummy, and if you're a candy fragrance lover, I think you might really like this. It has top notes of strawberry, chamallow, if that's how you say it, and caramel, middle notes of ylang ylang and jasmine, and base notes of vanilla and musk. This is a photorealistic bubblegum scent. The dry down is extremely sweet, and even as someone that loves really sweet fragrances, the first 30 minutes of this are pretty intense. The two strongest notes are chamallow and strawberry, but I also get distinct caramel and a hint of ylang ylang, but thank God I don't get any jasmine. I hate that, girl. After about 30 minutes, the sweetness subsides and it's no longer cloying, but rather it smells like a soft, slightly fruity marshmallow. It has moderate sillage and lasts all day. Next, I tried two fragrances from Chabaud, and I was sadly disappointed by both of them. I had smelled lait de biscuits and lait concentré in the past and didn't really love either of them, so I just think this house might not be for me, honestly. Lait de biscuits was nice, but super faint, so it was kind of underwhelming, and then lait concentré smelled like yeasty bread instead of like sweet milk. I don't know what was up with that. This time around, the more egregious of the two fragrances I tried was mon tiramisu. It has top notes of whipped cream and coffee, middle notes of vanilla, coconut milk, and biscuit, and base notes of chocolate, sandalwood, and musk. Sounds incredible. Lie. I get absolutely no sweetness here. It's just musk and sandalwood with like a hint of coconut and bitter ass coffee. It's also super faint and only lasts about 3 hours on me, which is fine because I don't like it, but like, people have compared this fragrance to Philosophy's Fresh Cream Warm Cashmere, and I have to hard disagree. Because warm fresh cream from, what's it called? Fresh cream warm cashmere is so sweet and decadent, and even though it does have distinct coconut, it's not musty like this shit. They're literally on completely different playing fields. Like, I can't even compare the two. How dare you? And the other Chabaud fragrance that I tried was lait de vanille. It has notes of vanilla, caramel, and benzoin. This is definitely miles better than mon tiramisu, but the vanilla comes off really plasticky in the dry down. After about an hour of wear, it develops into a really beautiful, creamy vanilla, but just like all the other fragrances I've tried from this house, it is so extremely faint. That being said, despite its lack of projection, lait de vanille lasts all day. Oui, tu comprends? It lasts all day. Okay, moving right along, I finally tried fragrances from 4160 Tuesdays, which is a brand I've really admired. I love their perfumer, Sarah McCartney. She's such a doll. I love her. Her YouTube videos are very fun, so you should go watch. First, I want to go over my obvious favorite, a citrus dessert scent called Hammersmith Tea and Biscuits. It has notes of lemon, black tea, vanilla, French pastries, pancake flour, oat milk, ginger, and hazelnut. It opens up with citrus and something sweet that's really reminiscent of pastries. The doughiness fades into the background almost immediately, leaving behind sweetness and a light citrus note and bringing in a very distinct tea note. I also very briefly get a hint of ginger about 10 minutes in, but I don't get any hazelnut or oat milk. While it is unfortunately quite faint on me, it still lasts all day. It's so yummy, and if you find fragrances like Acro Bake too citrus forward, then this might be a better option for you as it's much softer and the lemon isn't nearly as intense. Let me quickly compare it to some other lemon gourmands. Xerjoff's Lyra is deeper and the vanilla is replaced with caramel. In Kerastine's Unknown Pleasures, the citrus is a lot more tart and the tea note is more distinct. And Dolce & Gabbana's Devotion is more of a candied lemon scent with very distinct orange blossom. Next is very unique, but slightly disappointing to my taste, and that is Captured by Candlelight. It has top notes of toffee, cognac, and cinnamon, middle notes of beeswax and fruity notes, and a base note of oak. When I smell this from the decant, I really smell the toffee, but as soon as it's on my skin, all I smell is beeswax and oak. It's not bad. I was just hoping that I would smell toffee, that's all. It's very atmospheric, if that makes sense. It gives me really strong old church vibes, and not in a bad way. I've just never smelled a perfume quite like this before. I honestly kind of want to buy a full bottle despite not loving it because it is so interesting. Besides not getting any sweetness, I also don't get any spice or booze. And although it's quite faint on me, it lasts about 6 hours. This was compared very often to Maison Margiela's By the Fireplace, and I don't see the resemblance honestly at all. By the Fireplace is a deep, very smoky vanilla scent, and I don't get any beeswax or toffee in it. Next up from 4160 Tuesdays is Over the Chocolate Shop. This has notes of cacao, coffee, hazelnut, praline, and vanilla. This is a really yummy, powdery chocolate scent that reminds me a lot of like hot cocoa mix. The chocolate note does come off a little bit plasticky to my nose, but overall it's really delicious. I only get a drop of coffee and no hazelnut or vanilla. It's really just cacao and praline on me. It only has minimal sillage, but it lasts all day. And the final fragrance from 4160 Tuesdays is another chocolate scent called Silk, Lace, and Chocolate. Based on reviews, I was really hoping this would smell like chocolate covered strawberries, but sadly I only smell strawberry in the dry down. Within 30 minutes of wear, it fades completely into the background and I get more of like a woody chocolate scent. It actually kind of reminds me of the oak from their Captured by Candlelight. Now that all being said, the chocolate does deepen quite a lot after about 3 hours, but I still wish we got more of that strawberry note. It has minimal sillage and lasts about 7 hours on me. We are moving on to yet another one of my favorite niche fragrance houses, Kerosene. Until now, I had only smelled their Unknown Pleasures, and it's one of my all-time favorite fragrances, so I was really excited to try more from them, especially because I find their fragrance stories so interesting. First one we're going to talk about today is called Follow. Its notes are roasted coffee beans, vanilla, maple sap, tonka bean, amber, and benzoin. This is a lightly sweet and kind of powdery coffee scent. It does have a slightly bitter edge to it, but it's quite smooth, so I can tolerate it a lot better than other coffee fragrances. It has minimal sillage and sadly only lasts about 2 hours on me. But on a similar note, Kerosene has another coffee fragrance called Followed, and I am obsessed with this. It has notes of coffee, caramel, chocolate, vanilla, and amber. Compared to Follow, this is much sweeter and has very distinct caramel and a hint of chocolate. It reminds me so much of those sweet and creamy Nescafe instant coffee packets. It is so delicious. Also, it is beast mode as hell. Okay, you put a drop of this on your skin, you fill up the entire room. I put a tiny drop of this on my wrist and I went to work and everyone was like, oh my god, who has coffee in here? It smells so good. It's just me, girl. And on top of that, it lasts 4 days on your clothing, for literal days. Because of that, a lot of people find this fragrance way too intense, which I totally understand. So if you want something a little bit lighter and a little bit more reminiscent of like ground coffee beans, I would stick with Follow instead of Followed. Okay, we are getting dark out there, aren't we? Number 3 from Kerosene, and one that really missed the mark for me, was Promises, Promises. It has notes of amber, vanilla, and musk, and sadly, I think I'm nose blind to it yet again. It kind of just smells like a plain beeswax candle with the tiniest, nearly imperceptible drop of vanilla. It's not offensive or anything, it's just very lackluster. It does develop a light cardamom-like spiciness a couple hours into wearing it, but it's so faint that I have to put my nose right up to my skin to be able to smell anything. Okay, last one from Kerosene is Sweetly Known. It has notes of cardamom, caramel, vanilla, cacao pod, musk, and burnt sugar. This is warm and spicy with a super sweet sillage. The strongest note is definitely cardamom, but I do get distinct cacao and a hint of caramel and vanilla. It's a tiny bit too screechy for me personally, but I think it's a really interesting fragrance for fall and winter. It has moderate sillage and lasts all day. Okay, now let's move on to kyse fragrances, everyone. Woo! Their cacao noisette and douceur brûlée are some of my favorite fragrances of all time, so I was so excited to try more from them. I picked out 4. And sadly, I'm just like a little bit disappointed. They're not bad, I'm not angry, I'm just like, oh, that's let's get into it. First is Bonbon à la vanille. It has notes of Tahitian vanilla, Peru balsam, and skin. It's just a little bit underwhelming, what can I say? It's a nice vanilla. It's just not really as sweet as I expected it to be. The Peru balsam adds an interesting light woodiness, but it does make the fragrance smell very clean. I don't know how else to describe it. It reminds me of a less sweet Namat vanilla musk. And in that case, I would just rather use Namat vanilla musk. If you want a lighter, less cloying, almost clean smelling vanilla, then this might be the perfect fragrance for you. But you know, I like to be cloyed, I guess. I saw a lot of people comparing this to Escapade Gourmand. We cannot be talking about the same fragrance, can we? Escapade Gourmand is so sweet and decadent and also so much stronger than Bonbon à la vanille. I just don't understand how you can compare the two, I really can't. Next is Gâteau de Carnaval. It has notes of cupcake, brown sugar, vanilla, and apricot. Again, this is nice. It's just not as sweet or as decadent as I was hoping it would be. so I'm sad. On me, it's light and a bit milky. It kind of reminds me of Philosophy's fresh cream with just a little hint of brown sugar added. I wouldn't necessarily say I get cupcake, just something a little bit vaguely bready, and I don't get any apricot. Sadly, the milkiness and brown sugar fade within 30 minutes, and I'm left with a very light and hardly sweet bready scent. This is one of the more faint fragrances I've tried from Kyse, and it only lasts about 4 hours on me. Next up on the chopping block is Wishlist. Its notes are cacao, marshmallow, coffee, peru balsam, patchouli, and styrax. This is deep, chocolatey, and a little bit earthy. I can see lots of people enjoying this fragrance, but the peru balsam is a bit too strong, the coffee a bit too bitter, and the marshmallow a little bit too faint, I should say non-existent, for my liking. I don't get patchouli in the dry down, but it comes through just a tad after about an hour. That being said, the chocolate that I get in the sillage is delicious. It has moderate sillage and lasts about 7 hours. And last from Kyse is praline au caramel. It has notes of cupuaçu, caramel, pistachio, praline, coconut, and salt. This is my least favorite of the bunch, but I still like it well enough. It's sweet and a tiny bit nutty, but the cupuaçu comes off a little bit strange to my nose. It's not bad by any means. I don't know how to explain it. It's not that it smells sour, but that's the word I want to use. I don't know. Like, it smells like if you combined a nut and a fruit, which I guess makes sense because that's what this scent is, but I don't know. I guess it's because I've never smelled cupuaçu before. It totally threw me off. The caramel also isn't as distinct as I'd hoped it would be, so that was also a bummer. And I don't get any coconut or salt. It has minimal sillage, but lasts all day and more. I saw lots of comparisons to Sol de Janeiro's Tiramisu 62, and I totally disagree. Tiramisu 62 is much nuttier, and it doesn't have any sort of fruitiness at all. We are moving on to our final 2 fragrances. They are both from Versatile Pears, and the first one is Croissant Cafe. This has top notes of cappuccino, coffee CO2, milk, vanilla, and caramel, middle notes of sesame, floral notes, cedar, and cade oil, and base notes of tonka bean, coumarin, musk, timber silk, and vetiver. I am so sad about this. It was on my wish list for a while, and then I smelled it. And it's not sweet or milky. It's extremely faint and smells more like a bar of soap than anything gourmand. Like, I don't really smell any of the notes. It's not really sweet at all. It's just kind of lightly musky. I thought maybe it was just that it needed to sit for a little bit, so I tried it again after a few months. Yeah, I still don't smell it, so I'm probably noseblind to it yet again. I saw 3 fragrances in this video that I'm noseblind to. Oh my god, girl. To finish off on a better note, we have God Bless Cola. That's right. I say that as if I love cola. I don't drink soda like ever. I hate soda. Anyway, it has top notes of popcorn and Coca-Cola, middle notes of butter, caramel, and peanut, and base notes of vanilla, gourmand accord, sweet notes, and woodsy notes. This is way different than your typical cola fragrance. Rather than being too spicy or not sweet enough, this is a fluffy, lightly sweet, and a bit of a powdery cola scent. The cola note is actually pretty faint and fades within 10 minutes, leaving behind marshmallowy caramel goodness. I don't get any peanut or woody notes. It's really just sweet and a little fruity and fluffy and yummy and marshmallow. It has minimal sillage and lasts about 7 hours. I'm not sure if I want a full bottle yet, but I'm gonna keep experimenting with it to see if it's worth it. And that is everything. Finally, I'm done talking. My throat hurts. I hope this was helpful at all if you have these fragrances in your wish list as well. But otherwise, I'm excited to take my vacation. I can't wait to relax. I will not be relaxed. What am I talking about? I hate traveling. I really want to do like a Greece and Turkey vlog when I'm on vacation, so I'm gonna try to compile something. I'm probably gonna fail on that, but like maybe, I don't know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you eventually, probably. Bye-bye. It has top notes of maple, apricot. Can I speak? It has top notes of cinnamon, cherry. It has top notes of, oh great, now there's something in my eye. To compare this to some other cola fragrances, sniff Soda Snob. To compare this to some other cola fragrances, why did I just start screaming? Sniff Soda Snob is much sweeter and has a very distinct caramel note. Sorry. To compare this to some other others. Get it together, girl. To compare this to some other cola fragrances, sniffs. While Killian's Born to be Unforgettable has a stronger cola note and distinct lime and is nowhere near as spicy as Tonka Cola. Tonka Cola, that's what I'm talking about. I know I've made, what was that? But if you find L'Eau de Parfum too sweet and too cloying, what was I saying? First, I want to go over my obvious favorite, a citrus dessert scent called Hammersmith Sea. Until now, I had only smelled. Sadly, the milkiness and brown sugar fade within 30 minutes, and I'm left with a very